Hi, Paul here from RC Experimentals. Today we're going to be looking at this radio controlled Jeep Wrangler. This is my son's radio controlled Jeep Wrangler. Ever since the day he got it, he's been a little disappointed with it. It is actually a radio controlled toy. His expectation was a hobby grade crawler than a toy. The controller itself actually is not proportional in any way. It's just, it looks like a normal controller, but it just has switches on the inside. There was no speed control as such. It was either on or off, and there was nothing in between, so you couldn't crawl with it. It was either race it or not. However, top speed was quite low and therefore wasn't fast enough. The other thing was the steering angle was very small and therefore had a very large turning circle. This will be a budget build from RC toy to hobby grade crawler. Well, here's the body off. I've also removed the shocks. Partly because the rear shocks were attached to the body itself, so to get the body off I had to take the shocks off. The front shocks were connected here and here, so they actually didn't do anything at all. This is the radio controlled module in there, no proper servo, and that's the chassis basically. So the intention is to rebuild all this. We'll put this Jeep Wrangler body on a CRX type chassis. Well, the rear is just plain and simple rear swinging arm. So we'll take all this off. So I've already undone this. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Need both hands to do this. Well, there's the rear motor unit and where the suspension was separated, and there's the front half of the chassis. You can see it's really deep. It's just a plastic box. We've removed the radio control and battery module. That's a plug-in battery module, which is all in one. There's a radio control system that includes motor drivers. In fact, it's just a motor attached to a simple gear, which is there. This is so simple, it's ridiculous. Just a straight spur gear on the end of the motor, which I'll take apart again in a minute and I'll show you. So here's the inside of the steering servo, just a simple step down gear and just straightforward. Oops, that's it. The steering arm, in fact I haven't got it with me, it just sits in this hole here, so in that slot, so as it drives one way obviously just pushes backwards and forwards. So that's all it is. So it's not even a proper decent servo. Never got very much trouble because obviously this isn't very much. What's that? It's not even 10 degrees. So you got 10 degrees of steering angle, which is appalling. So any time you went driving, it had to have a lot of space. Otherwise, there was a lot of backwards and forwards to turn round. Right, let's get the motor bit apart. So here we are with the rear axle opened up. As you can see, just reducer gears, straight spur gear, straight hard through axle, and that's quite a small motor in comparison to what most other decent crawler RC cars would have. Well, there you go. That's let's take it out. It just slips out as easy as you like. Cables are taut. I'm going to do this. There we go. So Yeah, quite a small motor. It might well be capable of driving this faster, even though it is a small motor, on the basis that obviously that there's not much weight in it. It was all made of plastic. However, obviously this reducer gear setup is really what's reducing the speed at which it can travel at. So we'll see what we can do. Let's get a new chassis and see what we can do with some speed for him. Although the rear axle is metal here, so that's obviously a good thing. These, I guess they're made of nylon, so the wheels screw on with a single screw through the centre, and have a hex insert for the end of this. But the nylon end, let's see if we can get in here, actually the screw doesn't go into the steel, it goes into the nylon end, and these are not actually fixed. They have a nylon bushing which is attached or is made to fit into this plastic, and it has the nylon end, rod end I guess you call it, has a flange on it to stop it coming off. So if we lift this up, the whole thing can just slide off, and well, ingenious, but it does mean that there we go, no screw hole in the end of the shaft, so it does mean that the wheels were never attached directly to the drive shaft. So again, well, let's see what we're going to do with that. Well, here's the steering system on the original. It's just, as I showed you, where's that servo? So so it's just one bar across, and the servo, and it's all in bits now, but that, oops. So the servo actually fits down in that gap, so it would sit in there over the top of that pin there, and obviously the nylon bit would fit over but inside, and therefore on a swivel it would just steer well, about that much really, and that's about it. A very little steering rake, or very steering angle I should say, so hopefully we'll be able to get a bit more out of it. Obviously I'm not going to use this in its entirety anyway, because it's all part and parcel of the front chassis, but we shall take some bits off and make use of them where we can. I think might use these ends, but we'll definitely have proper steering geometry set on there, with push rods and whatever they're called, I don't know. Anyway, that's the steering. We'll have that apart, and we'll see what we can make with some decent parts. Taken off the big bumpers, so this is a crash bumper from the back, this is the front bumper. He quite liked the stance, so I'm thinking of using the same ones if we can, put them back on. So he likes the look of that. He doesn't mind, yeah, it's a bit dirty, went out in the damp, it's not too bad. So it's got the massive great big plastic bumper at the front and a bump bar at the back. Did say he just wanted the Jeep body back on for his, and we'll go from there. So there we go, it's all in bits now. Need to buy some parts, and we'll be back with it.